Hello everyone, welcome to TimeOut Interview. Our guest today is Jeff Ptak. He's a former US player with a lot of experience in South America, Europe, Asia, Middle East. He's going to join us to share a little bit of his journey with volleyball. So Jeff, thank you very much for joining us today.
Excellent. Thank you, Carlos, for having me, man. It's been a long time since we've seen each other, and I'm excited for this.
Yeah, man, long time. Hey, Jeff, I want to take you right at the beginning. Tell me, how was it the first time that you ever had contact with volleyball?
Well, it's funny because I grew up playing baseball and basketball in the United States, and volleyball wasn't a popular sport at all. When I went to high school, a friend of mine, my mother always made us play fall sports, and she said, "Hey, Jeff, you got to play a sport year-round." So in the fall, I was running cross-country, believe it or not. I ran, which was awful. And a friend of mine, he said, "Hey, Jeff, why don't we play volleyball instead?" So we played, and I was 14 years old, and I was terrible. I was the worst volleyball player on the team by far. I didn't know what I was doing. I was naturally a very good athlete, but volleyball for me is very, very technical. And it takes years and years to get really good. So at first, my first season was 14 years old. I was the worst player on the team. And then eventually got better and better. And I just enjoyed the sport more than anything else I played. And then it became my life.
When was it the moment that you realized you fall in love with volleyball?
I would say I was probably about 15 or 16. And I was actually okay. I was good. I was maybe mediocre on my team, but had some playing time. And for tournaments, we would go on the weekends and we'd play with our team in different cities around the United States. And it was kind of like that freedom away from our parents with the team, the group bonding aspect. Really, that's when I really fell in love with the sport, and I kind of knew it was for me. So I think when I had that freedom and I started to feel myself getting better and being surrounded by really fun teammates, and it became a sport I love.
What did you expect on that moment when you just started playing volleyball?
I didn't expect anything. I just expected it would be a sport that I played during school, just to pass the time. And then, I was 16 years old, 17 years old, and I started getting college letters from universities around the United States for me to come to play at their school. And I said, wow, this is actually something I could pursue after, my elementary years of my beginning years of volleyball. And so that's when colleges started giving me money to play to go towards my tuition. That's when I said, you know what? I'm playing no more sport besides volleyball, and I will concentrate on that completely. And I think as soon as my parents and my family and friends were like, wow, you should do this. And when I had that support from them is when I really dove in 100%.
Who were your first volleyball idol?
My first volleyball idol had to have been Coach Karai. We watched a lot of beach volleyball on the AVP tour when I was young. And I would play out in the backyard with my friends and my neighbors. And we didn't have a net. We just had a rope that we'd hang the clothes on. And we'd play with a volleyball we bought from the local grocery store or something like that. And we'd always pretend we were Coach Karai or St. John Smith. But I think in the heart of all of Americans from back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, Coach Karai was everyone's idol, and he was one of mine as well.
Hey, did you ever have the chance to play with him or against?
I never played with him. I think he was just that much older than myself, and I didn't play much beach volleyball, to be honest. I was more primarily indoor. I did meet him on several occasions, and he's a very, very excellent person. And to this day, he's still definitely one of my idols.
Awesome. How was it for you to meet your idol?
I was cool. I was kind of starstruck, actually. It was when I was in university. We were out in California playing in a tournament, and he was at our practice. And afterwards, I just went up to him and said, "Hey, Coach, how are you?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm Jeff." And he's like, "Oh, I know." And then I think he did a lot of announcing at that time for volleyball on TV and stuff like that. So he's familiar with the collegiate game, and it just felt cool to be in his presence. And, I was roughly just a tad bit taller than him, which I was surprised. But it was really cool. It was really cool.
When was it the first time that you went to play abroad?
Actually, the first time I played abroad was I was 17 years old. I was in high school, and I was on the U.S. junior national team. And so we played in Italy for the U.S. or the Junior National World Championships. I forget what it was called, but it was something like that. And our team, we didn't do very well, but it was a cool experience, and it showed me. I said, hey, you know, these are the best players in the world at your age. You can possibly sometime be like that. And that was awesome. And then the transition from actually playing university to abroad making money, that was quite the change. My first place I played was Puerto Rico. I played in Puerto Rico right when I graduated college. And then from there, I went to Italy and played there. Within 2 months of playing in Puerto Rico, I changed positions already. So I realized that on the international level, I wasn't that great of a receiver or passer. I was okay, but I was just a better attacker. So the teams wanted me at the opposite position. So basically all I had to do was serve, block, and hit. For me, it was a lot easier. And at that time, opposites, I felt, got paid a little bit more than receivers. So I was excited. So I went, and that was a pretty easy transition for me, actually. I felt at that time when I was, 22, 23, 24 is when you really, really start to develop and get a lot better. You get physically stronger. And at that point in my career, that change to playing, the jump to abroad wasn't for me that difficult. The difficulty was being away from home, being away from family. That's what I really struggled with. Actually, my entire career was just being away and, having the anxiety and the depression of kind of being alone. That was really difficult for me.
How did you deal with that challenges of staying away from home?
You always realize that there will be an end sometime in your career. You can't always play volleyball. I knew that at some point in time I was going to be back home with my family. And, that time actually lasted a lot longer than I thought. I didn't finish playing until I was 37. But yeah, I knew that time was going to come. And, everyone's telling me, hey, as long as you could still play well and get paid a good amount, you might as well keep playing. I just kept thinking it became a job. It was a fun job, but it was just a job. I did it solely for the money, and I think at a point in everyone's career, you do that. But when I knew I was able to provide for my family, and once again, you only play overseas for 7-8 months out of the year. The rest of the months you can stay home on vacation, which is great. So I always try to stay really positive, and that's really how I got through it.
And now thinking about the best parts that you did inside the court, what do you consider to be your biggest strength in the game?
I think my biggest strength in the game is that I was able to affect the overall culture of the team in a positive manner. All my teammates always accepted me as a brother. And I felt like I was a great, great teammate. I feel like throughout my career, I was a very humble player. Maybe not at university or level. I wasn't humble in university, but as soon as I got to the professional level, I felt like, almost embarrassed by the success of being really good. I wanted to kind of just be low key and be like all the other teammates. But, when you have a player that's scoring 30 points every match, they're going to get all the attention. And that's how it was. But I never let it really get to my head. And, my teammates, I think, really like that. The best teams that I was on didn't necessarily have the best players or the best athletes, but we worked the best together at a team, kind of knowing our role on the team and accepting each other as brothers. So I think, I brought a very good positive attitude to most teams I played on.
I remember even from when we were competing, you mentioned sometimes like the way you try to lead your team was trying to make everyone around you relax while playing. And where did you learn that?
Well, you have to, I think it's from having some coaches who were very articulate or very outspoken, okay? Coaches that really yell at the teammates, and if they mess up, are just in their face and screaming and yelling at them. And not many people react to that in a positive way. And I always almost get angry at my coaches when they do that, because that player would then be terrible the rest of the game because they can't react to that kind of yelling or criticism, if you will. And when I was younger, I used to yell. When I was in university, I would yell at my teammates when they would mess up. I would just expect perfection from everybody. And I'd yell, I'd curse when I messed up, but when someone else was playing poorly, I would curse at them as well. And, I look back and I feel like an ass for doing that. But I learned that, if you're just cool with people and kind of keep everyone calm, the outcome is much better than than being very hostile.
Yeah, man, it's great. And when you have everyone around you playing more relaxed, you enjoy more the game.
Yeah.
Suddenly the performance of the whole team goes up.
Yeah, I think when I look around and I see, a smile on someone's face during the game, it's so much better than so you look at the old school Russian teams were very, very good team, the Serbian teams, but they never smiled. They're always just always business, very professional. Where for me, I like playing with guys who are having a good time and laughing, not when they mess up, but laughing during the game and being able to kind of relax. Because when you're all tense, I don't think you play very well.
During your whole career, what were the biggest challenges that you ever had?
Well, by far the biggest challenge was an injury I had when I was in Brazil. I was playing it was 2008. I played for a team, Tigre Unisul, and I had a freak injury during a match. At this point in time in my career, I was 27, almost 28 years old. That's the best, best part of your career. Those are the years you are at top physical performance, top condition. And I was good. I was really good at that time in my career, jumping really well. Everything was clicking. I'm on one of the top 3 teams in Brazil. Life was great. And then first point of the game, we were in Bento Gonzalez. I got set back, super fast tempo ball. Ball was a little bit tight than that. So, no problem. I jumped, crushed the ball, bounced the ball, turned around to celebrate in midair, and I landed on the blocker's foot and just completely broke my leg in half. So I had a double compound fracture of my tibia and fibula, which means the bones were sticking out of my skin, and I had a dislocation of my ankle. I went to the hospital in Brazil, and the doctor told me that I would never even walk again without a cane. So I'd have to have something to walk with for the rest of my life. And I was just in shock with that. And I had 3 surgeries in Brazil. And then I came back to the United States, and I ended up having a total of 4 more operations. And at one point in time, I almost lost my leg because I had an infection in the bone. It was crazy, the amount of medicine. I had to have a PIC IV put in my arm, so I had a constant IV in there for 9 weeks. And every morning, every night, I had to connect medicine called vancomycin into this for 2 hours. So 4 hours a day, I'm hooked up to this medicine. Almost lost the leg, and then it was bad. So I took about 17 months off. And I accumulated a huge hospital bill from the United States, giant bill. Like health insurance in the United States, it's a little different. And so my bill was enormous. So I had no choice but to play again, because if I have to pay this bill, I have to play. There's no other way I'd be able to make that amount of money in a short period of time to pay off the hospital. So I signed my first contract in Bahrain before I could even walk. And they thought I was playing. Sorry, guys, if you're listening now, but they thought that I was playing and training. I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. Boom. Can you guys send me 4 months of advance? Yeah, no problem. So they sent me 4 months in advance. Sorry, guys, once again. But, so I didn't even know if I'd be able to play. Honestly, it was that bad. And so when I went to Bahrain, it was in November of 2009. It was like the first time I even jumped after 17 months of not playing.
What did you have to do to go back playing? You almost lost your leg.
I had to. So even I was never even close to the player I was beforehand. Afterwards, I had to mentally say, "Hey, you're not as good as you used to be, but you could still be a good player." And as soon as I accepted the fact that I was never going to be that good anymore, that's when I slowly got better. I had to make sure I was in good condition. So I was training nonstop, not with volleyball, but in the gym, cycling, stretching. I had to get back in shape somehow. If you can't jump or even run hardly, how do you do it? I mean, the arm bike, the bicycle, the push-ups, sit-ups, everything. That was the toughest thing I ever encountered. Injuries are not fun, especially major ones like that. It was like it would be compared to an injury if you were on a motorcycle and you got hit by a car on a motorcycle. That's the kind of injury that it was.
That's pretty aggressive injury.
I played like, 8 more years after that, which was cool. And I think in those 8 years, I played like probably 12 different championships because I played in Puerto Rico a couple times to double up. So it was, I'd say I got lucky maybe, or maybe it was just hard work. I don't know.
Wow, man, well done. After this huge challenge, doctor telling you that you're not going to be able to play anymore.
Yep.
And like you played 8 more years. Who were there for you, supporting you during this process?
My wife and my son, man. That was really it. My friends here, I tell them I'm going to play again, and maybe they say, "Oh yes," but I don't know if they believe me I was going to play again. But no, my supporting system at home has always been really, really good. And then my old coach at university let me train with the team for a bit too, which helped out a lot. Just being around the ball, even just peppering and moving a little bit helped a lot. So yeah, I had a good support staff here.
We've been through the biggest challenge. And what were your best moments as a player?
And I'm sure you know it's very difficult to win a championship. No matter how good that team is, you keep chasing for that goal, and it rarely does that happen. After my operations, my 7 or 8 surgeries on my leg, finally when I was in Bahrain and we won the cup, was such a huge moment at that point, because number one, I never thought I was going to play again. And number two, it was something I was chasing for a while because I played that for many seasons and we couldn't win. Finally, we won that, and it just felt great with the whole country watching, because in Bahrain, which is, one of my favorite places I played, they have many fans, and you're almost like celebrity status when you're there because people actually follow the game of volleyball. It was so good to have everybody from my village I played in, just the fans of the team, just to be there. My son was there. A lot for a while. My wife was there, and they just accepted us as brothers and sisters, and they just were so happy, and it was good to finally get that win. Also, I think the 2 other things that I was very proud of was one, when I was still good, was playing in Brazil, because a lot of, you know how many good players there are in Brazil, and to be able to play in that league at a top level with some of the best players in the world, for me, and excel, was a huge accomplishment. And then also I would say when I played in Russia, I never thought I'd play in Russia, because that's the best, typically the best league in the world, the biggest players. And I'm only 6'4", maybe 6'5", which is what, 1.94 m, I think, something like that. I'm not tall for my position at all, but then to have a team bring me to Russia with them was unbelievable. And that was probably just up there with everything else, because it was, I never thought I would play in that league, just because I never thought I was good enough, but I did well. So it was for me, an accomplishment.
Man, that's a huge accomplishment. How was it for you to go over even your own barriers, your own mindset, some way limiting you?
I doubt myself when I'm not playing, but as soon as I get in the court, all I have to do is hit one ball, and then you're like, okay, I can play with these players. I don't care how tall they are. I know I can play with them, or how much experience they have. I know I'm just as good. It's okay to doubt yourself outside the game, but as soon as you get in that court, in that arena or that gym, you have to be positive. And I think that was something good that I did. As soon as I started to play, I was always very, very positive and had a lot of confidence.
Did you have some routine or preparation for games?
It was always, I needed to eat, kind of the same thing every time. And I don't know why. I always ate before my practice, before training, before games. When I was still at my apartment or wherever I was, I would always have 2 pieces of toast with peanut butter, banana, and honey. It was like my ritual. I had to do that. I don't know why. And I had to have a coffee. But before the games, as older I got, I always warmed up really slow. Pepper really easy, serve really easy. And I didn't want to waste any energy in the warm-up, because I see a lot of people doing that, and then they get to the game and they're too tired, and the older I got, I really understood that I needed as much energy as I could possibly have for that 5th set, because otherwise I would be dead.
Is there a tip or advice that you can give for a player that he can go tomorrow for practice and make their game better?
I like stuff that you can do by yourself. I don't want to rely on having a setter there to set me the ball or someone to hit a ball to me. You know, for the people just starting out, or actually even, I don't care what level you are, you could serve as much as possible. High, deep serves, because that works on that high arm swing. And I always tell people, rarely in my career did I hit the ball down. A lot of people are too concerned about bouncing the ball on the ground and getting that big, you know, that crazy kill, where I scored probably 90% of my points were off people's hands, high and hard. So whatever you can do, just taking the ball, throw it up in the air, and just keep that arm really high extend when you hit the ball. That's really important, especially for shorter players. Try to get as long as they can with their arm swing. And then squats. Squats upon squats upon squats. Just, you need to get core tight. And I don't care if you have weight on your shoulders or hold the weight here, or even just squat without anything. Deep squats, you can't do enough of them. I don't care if you're sitting here watching TV or you're talking to someone on the computer or on your phone. Just squat down, sit down to the sofa, stand up, sit down, stand up. You can't do too many of those, because that's movements that you use all the day. I've never done the leg extension ever, because I like to do stuff you're going to use. I mean, you're never going to do an extension while you're playing volleyball. I like to do squats and lunges. So yeah, squat, lunge, and swing high. That's about it.
How important was it for you to have your workout? How much do you think would influence your performance while you were playing?
It's amazing how much it helps. A lot of people, let's say if you play on a Sunday and then you have a Monday off, and then you train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever it is. That off day, so the day after my games, I never rested. Never. I always went to the gym and did something. Nothing really strenuous, but I always had to go and get the lactic acid out of my joints. I couldn't just sit around, because if not, that practice on Tuesday, I just couldn't barely move. That training was very, very important for me. And I didn't grasp that until I was probably about 21 years old, 22. My early university days, I could always jump really high normally. And so I just said, screw it, I'm not going to lift weights. I'm just going to jump and hit the ball. And when you see other people getting better, you're like, man, I have to do something. So if you put it in your mindset, the harder you work puts you further from your competition. You never know how hard this person is working, but I guarantee I'm working harder. So that was one thing my entire professional career. I had to make sure I had a good gym to train at. If my team didn't do weightlifting, I made sure I had the best facility to be at, so I can go whenever I wanted to go. Because for me, that was really important. You have to take care of your body, your muscles around your joints, and it'll definitely extend your career. You know, I could have been done at 27 years old, but with training and being fit and being strong, it lasted a lot longer.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. And great mindset. You need to take care of your body. It's your tool to work.
If you think about it, you have like carpenters, people who build homes for a living. They have the best equipment, right? They buy the best equipment because it lasts a long time. Or if you drive a Porsche, if you drive a Lamborghini, you put the best fuel in it. You don't put the cheap fuel, you put the most expensive fuel inside of it. So you have to do that to your body. You have to eat well, and you have to train and make your body as strong as possibly can be.
Who was your favorite opponent?
I can't say I had a favorite opponent, but I had a favorite league to play against, because I played in Puerto Rico they were only like 4-month long seasons. So I would play overseas and I'd play in Puerto Rico and kind of just get as much out of my body as I could. And playing against anybody there was the best, because the fans were crazy. The players were crazy. And it was always fun, because there you could talk a little bit when you played against the other team. And everyone's always kind of talking a little bit of trash to each other. And no matter who I played against, it was just so much fun to play in Puerto Rico. You know, I played, my career was from 2003 to 2017. So it was a long career. And so I got to see different players who I played against in the beginning of my career are all old men, and they're watching me play from the stands, and they're throwing shit at me and talking trash the whole time. So it's just a fun place to play, man.
Wow. Hey, what was the top 5 moments, the funniest moments that you had playing there?
When I first started playing there, you could smoke inside of the arenas. So I would be playing, And just going back to serve, I remember going back to serve, having, getting warmed up, and everyone is they're right behind you because, I think you do too. You stay pretty far away from the line when you do a jump serve. So I had to back up almost to like the gate where the partition between where the fans could be and myself. And so I'd be there and people would be kind of throwing stuff at me. People would be blowing their smoke on me when I go to serve. And I love that. I love it when fans are terrible. It makes me play better, right? That, for example, or, in Puerto Rico, we'd be playing in the same arena, or be in my home arena, and I go back to serve, and there'd be someone right there with drinking a beer, and I'd be, hey, give me some, and I'd take a beer and then go to serve. It was just really, really cool stuff, man. Like, just hilarious things, and people die. Or like, one funny thing happened in Puerto Rico too. Like, I think all the funny stuff was in Puerto Rico. My son was at a game, and we had like a big mascot because volleyball is very popular there, and he was dressed as something, I don't know, but they had, during like a timeout, they had took my son out and started dancing. My son was dancing in front of the whole crowd, and there was probably a couple thousand people there, and everyone's cheering for him, and it was cool. Also in Bahrain, the fans are fantastic as well. There's so many of them, and you play in these smaller villages, right? And so I was playing for a team called El Nasser, and the village, there were so many little children always at our practices watching, and so I'd pull up to my car and they'd be yelling my name, and my son and I would get out of the cars, and we were signing autographs and taking pictures with the kids. And I remember we were at the mall in Bahrain, and some little fan came up with a camera, and he didn't care about taking a picture with me. He wanted a picture with my son. And so he was taken with him, and just little things like that were just really cool, man.
Do you miss it?
Oh man, yeah. I miss all of it. You miss it so much that you have to get away from it. I don't do anything with the sport anymore. When I first stopped playing, I was giving private lessons, and I was running clinics, and I'd give a few of my own clinics. I almost became depressed because I was depressed because I couldn't do it anymore. In your brain, you always think, oh, maybe I could play one more season, or maybe I can come back. So when I was 37, I tore my Achilles. 37 years old, you can't really come back from that and have any type of career, just because it doesn't happen. So I accepted that. But then I'm getting agents always sending me emails. Jeff, how you feeling? I'm okay. Can you play? I'm like, yeah, I can play. So what do you think about this contract? And then you always have it. So then I stopped even opening the emails because I didn't want to hear about it anymore. I just said, I can't do this anymore. But yes, I do miss it a lot. And I tell everyone the same thing. I don't miss playing. I miss being able to affect the fans' emotions with just scoring a point. If you're playing a sport and you score a point, right? And you look around, there's 5,000 people cheering, or they're, oh, I hate you. Like, just to be able to affect someone's emotions that way, you can't do that any other way. There's no way. I'm not going to, I don't care what job I have for the rest of my life. I'm not going to have 5,000 people screaming and yelling at me. So that's what I miss the most, is almost that control.
That are the kind of unique experience that you're going to have in only with sports. Volleyball can definitely bring that for you.
Oh, definitely. It was my job for so long, and it brought me so much happiness. There was a lot of challenges, don't get me wrong, but it was, at times I meant I have the easiest job in the world. At times it's like, wow, this is tough. So it was like a roller coaster ride, but it was all worth it. And it was such a good, fulfilling sport for me. And I'll never forget the years that I played.
How do you think volleyball changed you as a person?
I think it showed that you can handle anything. The pressure there was, you know how it is. If you have a couple of bad games in a row, you could lose your job. And the pressure it had on you day in and day out, you was like, man, I can do anything now. I mean, if I can play in front of thousands of people who hate me, and they're expecting me to fail, or expecting me, if my home fans were expecting me to win, that pressure was easy for me. I just knew that if I gave my best, and everyone on my team did the same, that you would win. And when you go to the workforce after this, like whatever job you have, I wish that people hiring you would understand that I want an ex-professional athlete, someone who worked for me, because they're so goal-oriented. They can handle so much pressure. And I don't care if they know anything about this industry. We can teach them, but we can't teach who's inside of them. So I think it taught me a lot. I can handle really anything. It gave me a lot of confidence after the sport, because, you know, there's a lot of anxiety when you play, but you gain from it as a human being, as a person.
Yeah, man, we definitely learn a lot. And I also remember you posting once when you were doing your transition to post volleyball, and someone asked you, how would you deal with challenge?
Exactly. I remember it was a photo that is my last season playing, and I broke my hand, okay? My team was playing in Tunisia for the Arab Championships. Just a stupid injury, just completely broke the knuckle in half and had to have surgery. And my team said, you know, you have to come back and play, or, you know, you're going to lose your contract. We'll bring somebody else. And I understand that. That's important. So I did everything I could to come back to play. I'm playing this game with a broken hand, but I couldn't wear a cast, because you can't, when you're playing, you're not allowed to wear a hard covering. So I had tape on my hand, and I remember the pictures, me I was blocking with one hand, because this one, if I got hit, I'd be finished. It would just be broken in half. So, you know, I think I said something like, when someone asked me, you know, how are you going to handle the pressure of a boss or something like that? I'm like, well, how do you think? I'm going to show you this picture and say, this is 6 weeks after a hand surgery. I'm playing in front of thousands of fans. With my team, you know, I have to win this game. All this pressure, with everybody and the journalists writing bad things about me, and I'm still performing. That's what I'm going to show them and tell them, like, how I can persevere for something or handle pressure, because I think that's pressure right there. But yeah, that was funny. That was a long time ago I posted that. That's funny.
That was beautiful. I was reading it and I was, man, how dare you to ask that?
But it's true, because people don't understand. They don't understand, like, the heart of an athlete, or the desire of, I mean, not an athlete, but like as someone who's done it for a lifetime's work, you know, the stuff you have to go through to get good, to persevere. And they just think you're just some dumb jock, some dumb athlete who, okay, they could play a sport, but can they actually do something else, which I think you can do better than anyone else.
That's true. And Jeff, how did you do to come back after injuries? I have lost the count. How many surgeries you had to do throughout your career?
When I was in high school, when I was 18, I had a quad tendon repair. In university, I played World League when I was 21 with the U.S. national team. And when I was training for that, I tore a meniscus. So I had meniscus surgery, and then I had another knee surgery, a patella tendon surgery, then 7 surgeries on that big injury I had in Brazil, 7 on the damn fibula, tibia, ankle, and then 1 hand. So it was a lot. I'd say like 12. But every time I just, you know, afterwards, it's always a slow process, but you have to stay positive. If you have good support staff, like I said, I had, you know, my family and my coaches, and they were always supporting me. And then if you just put it in your mind, you say, well, I have to play. What else am I going to do right now? I'm still young. If I can play, I'm going to push myself to play. So I just said, there was never me saying I'm not going to play. It was always like, well, I have to. So just take time, and it takes a little bit each time to get back. But the hand, I didn't take any time off. Like, I broke the hand, had the surgery. Next week, I'm hitting balls just like with one arm, like jumping with one arm. And so, yeah, that one wasn't bad, but everything else took a little while.
This situation with the hand, I remember the picture, like you had the net on your chest.
Yeah, right? Yeah, those were the good days, man. And that was after the whole, I mean, I used to be, I never knew you when I was good. I wasn't that good when we met, you know. The injury in Brazil really kind of destroyed my career. I mean, it could have been a lot better, but I mean, it ended up being okay. So that
was a shame, because, you know, yeah. I was playing that season, but when my team played against yours, you're out already. So yeah. I didn't have a chance to play against you back then. But come on. Playing in Bahrain, you are really good.
Yeah, but I was so much better before, man. it was weird. I was still, like I said, I as soon as I accepted the fact that I couldn't be as good as I used to be, that's when I got good again. and I just had to be good differently. I was a lot stronger. I just be able to hit the ball a lot harder. And instead of being able, because I used to just hit over every single player, then I couldn't do it anymore. So I just was able to hit, like I said, hit high, off hands, off elbows, basically going up and trying to break someone's finger every time I hit the ball. So if you have that mindset, you should score some points.
And you had to adapt to the game, you know, in a situation, you know, you have that strong mindset. You want to continue, you can, it's up to you.
It was fun, man. It was a good long career. It was fun. And I met so many great people like yourself, and so many friendships you make. And the huge thing that I learned is no matter what happens, you don't burn any bridges. Don't leave a team with a very bad feeling between yourselves, because, you know, I played for teams early in my career and I could have left on bad terms, but we were okay. We shook hands and everything was good. And then 6 years later, I went and played for the same team again. So you never know like what could happen, and you never know when someone's going to need a favor or you're going to need a favor for somebody. So I always believe never burn any bridges. And I honestly think that I could travel to 50 different countries around the world and find somebody there who I've made friends with, and hey, you want to have a coffee, or to have, you know, someone to pass the time with. So I think that was, you know, that's a really important thing too, man. Just the friendships you create and you make along the way are lifelong lasting friends.
Awesome, man. Definitely. You can come to Dubai anytime.
Yes. I would love to, man. I think the flights are cheap now too. So let's see.
Jeff, how was it the transition for you after volleyball? And I know that you're following another dream that you had.
Yep.
You tell us a little bit about that.
So I always kind of knew what I wanted to do. I tried to, when I first stopped playing, I tried to get a sales job, and I knew it wasn't for me. I wasn't feeling it, and it didn't work out. I went for several interviews, and just whatever it was, myself or the company just didn't like me, or I didn't like the company. So I said, hey, I had a dream as a child to be a hairstylist and to own a salon. That's a crazy, not many people say that, but that for some reason I always wanted to. And so as soon as I realized that I wasn't going to be a salesman, I went to school for hair. I graduated and I worked at a local salon for about 1.5 years. And then just recently I opened my own salon. It's like a dream, you know, come true. I think I've had 2 fantastic careers, both of which I love. You know, I love playing a sport, and I love, you know, creating art, creating hair every day. It's something, and the good thing is it keeps my mind off of volleyball, because it's something now that I'm actually really good at as well. So it's fulfilling. It makes me happy.
Oh man, beautiful. And I'm really happy that you followed another dream that you had, and I'm sure you're going to be really successful on that.
I hope so. We'll see. The only time will tell, but right now it's off to a really good start, so I'm thankful.
Hey Jeff, now it's time for our tie break 15 these or that questions.
Okay.
Float or jump serves?
Jump serve.
Killer block or serve and ace?
Killer block.
Attack from first line or second line?
Second line.
When you dive, is it to take the ball or to take the picture?
The ball.
Favorite or underdog?
Underdog.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Pajamas or naked?
Naked.
Save or spend?
In the middle.
TV or book?
Depends. Right now, TV.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
TV shows or movies?
Shit. Movies.
Dine-in or delivery?
Dining.
What's worse, laundry or dishes?
Laundry.
Chips or chocolate?
Chips.
Beer or wine?
Depends on what I'm eating.
Nice, man. Nice.
Awesome,
And if you can give any advice for someone who is just trying to find a way on their career, what would you tell them?
Stay positive and work hard, you know, and always work on things you're not good at. Anybody can jump up and hit a ball, but not everybody can block. Not everybody can play defense. Work on things that you are not the best at, and then be the best at everything.
Jeff, thank you very much for your time. It's been a really pleasure for having you here, and I wish you all the success that you can have in your new career, new journey.
Likewise, it was great to catch up and great to chat, man. Thank you.
Man, what else I want to ask you? Wait, now I'm kind of lost. I knew this was going to happen. Man,
Good for pausing and stopping. You can, you can cut and paste, right?
I mean, and it's amazing. You go so fast, man.
Yeah, you get to talking.